All right, good seeing you again. This will be the last two slides we have on connective tissues, and we'll follow up this tomorrow with a few in between, and we'll finalize by the end of class. So we know connective tissue types. Another one is a reticular connective tissue. And just from that term reticular, we know reticular means to branch. When we talked about fibers and reticular fibers, there were things that would branch out. So a little bit different than collagen and then elastic. So with letter A, we know the first component. This is a delicate network of interwoven fibers. And after that, put a little comma and put branched. And we know that this branching is instrumental, and we talked a little bit about that and introduced it as another characteristic of reticular fibers. These types of things support organs and the functions of organs. So for letter B, we know that this forms a stroma, or internal supporting network, in particular to the lymph node organs. And we'll be breaking down part B into three separate subparts, and these separate parts show how that type of connective tissue impacts the support applied to various organs in a variety of different ways. Well, the first one, number one, we know that it supports lymph nodes, and these are components that monitor lymph within the lymph node system. Okay, we also know that for number one, besides monitoring lymph within the lymph node system, this process supports the defense of negative components having an impact on your body. Something that you might be a word you might be familiar with is immunities. So this type of node, has an impact on immunity in your system and helping your body repel things that might have a negative impact on it. Okay, so let's break lymph nodes down even a little bit closer into something more specific. So we have our lowercase a and b. Let's start with A. So we know that this node actually filters pathogens out of the lymph, which is a substance that moves in and out of your system. So once again, it filters pathogens out of the lymph that moves within the system. Lowercase b builds on this. A pathogen would be any type of disease or potentially a bacteria that would cause a detrimental impact on your body as a whole. We also know that your spleen, which is our subtopic number 2, is impacted by these tissues. We know that your spleen is unique. It does has a lot of functions within your body, and the first of those being lowercase a. We know that your spleen helps remove abnormal blood cells from your system. The second role of your spleen within your system, that's lowercase b, it's pretty important. The spleen helps to initiate some type of immune response within your body. So once those pathogens are identified via your lymph nodes, they've been filtered out and identified, well, an immune response exists, and lowercase b helps to define that. So another function of the spleen is to initiate immune-based responses in your body. Connective tissue also helps to support bone marrow. And if you think about bone marrow involves the material that's actually inside of the bone. So this requires the fibrous type of branched out support that supports a variety of things. So our third component deals with bone marrow, and we know bone marrow is the tissue that fills the inside part of your bone. And we'll get into bone marrow a little down the road when we touch base with a few other systems, but we're going to break bone marrow down into two components, lowercase a and lowercase b. Within your bone marrow, you have two types, red and yellow. The lowercase a, the red component of bone marrow, deals with the blood cell formation. So two types, red deals with blood cell formation, and the yellow component of bone marrow deals with energy reserves. So the whole component associated with connective tissue involves support, specifically in relation to reticular connective tissue and the function it has with branching out and to providing support for specific organs. Okay, final slide. We know that another type of connective tissue is blood, and this is just common blood that flows through in and out your body. If you were to prick your finger on a tack or something like that, it's just basic blood. But we know blood also functions as a connective tissue. And when we talk about that, we can break that down into three simple parts. So letter A, we know that blood cells are surrounded by a fluid matrix. And if we know a little bit about matrices by now, we know those are support-based from a function standpoint. I think one unique example that you know and you've seen before when you have a scab. So these fibers are visible. You can actually see these fibers form during clotting. And one result of clotting might be the actual formation of a scab, or the initial part of a scab associated with some type of cut on epithelial tissue. And the final component we'll talk about from a connective tissue standpoint associated with blood, we know blood functions as the transport vehicle for various materials that move throughout your body. Alright, for tomorrow's class, we'll go through these slides. We'll review them briefly, but we'll also start on some new material and get ready for the last week of school before Christmas. Have a good night.